After Lu Fang's demise, I became a solitary widower Omega. It was from that fateful day onward that I discovered I possessed the uncanny ability to hear the innermost thoughts of those around me. As the heir to the Lu family, my usually taciturn elder brother tenderly draped a coat over my shoulders, urging me to mourn. In his heart, he mused, "This waist is so slender that it could be encircled by a single hand." I yearned to press this little widow Omega against my brother's coffin right now. Lu Fang's closest confidant offered me a cup of warm water, his thoughts revealing. It's sweet to the point of madness. I long to lick him until he weeps, obliterating all traces of his scent. Yet, in the depths of every night, a voice resonated, deep and chilling enough to rattle one's very bones, laden with a fierce possessiveness and unbridled fury, whispering, heatedly against my ear, "Baby, can't you smell it? You've been marinated in the pheromones of every stray alpha around. Do you truly believe that now that your old partner is gone, I won't render you senseless with desire?" 1. My alpha husband met an untimely demise in a tragic car accident. As his legal partner, I inevitably became the inheritance he left behind. A newlywed Omega suddenly thrust into the role of a widow. The solemn atmosphere of the shrine was heavy with muffled sobs as I stood quietly before Lu Fang's memorial tablet, holding an ebony umbrella. Whispers from the onlookers drifted into my ears, carried by the wind. It hasn't even been half a month since the alpha's death. What a pity for this young Omega to be left in mourning. The Lu family is deeply entangled. Who knows how Lu Fang truly perished? It is said that Lu Yuan is quite indifferent towards this sister-in-law. I fear this Omega will inherit nothing and be cast out from the Lu family. A chill breeze suddenly swept through, causing me to cough lightly. Without warning, a deep gray cashmere coat, still warm, was draped over my shoulders. I blinked, lifting my gaze to the coat's owner, Lu Yuan, the elder brother of Lu Fang, the true master of the Lu family. He towered over me, his tailored black suit accentuating his tall, imposing figure. His face bore no extraneous expressions, and his profound gaze resembled an unfathomable, icy abyss, mirroring the pallor of my own face. "It is cold outside. Take care not to catch a chill." Lu Yuan spoke softly, his voice low and steady, maintaining the same aloofness he exhibited during our past encounters. "My condolences. Take care of your health." We shared no close bond, and I nodded faintly in acknowledgement. At that moment, however, I was startled by an unsettling thought. The crude and almost vulgar words, imbued with Lu Yuan's unique deep timbre, intruded upon my mind without warning. How can this waist be so slender that a single hand could encircle it? I want to pin this little widow onto my brother's coffin right now, hard enough to make her weep uncontrollably. I looked up in disbelief at the alpha, who maintained an icy demeanor in front of everyone. Yet, Lu Yuan's lips remained sealed, his expression unchanged. Was I merely imagining things? Such blasphemous words could not possibly belong to a man so perpetually composed and noble. It seemed he remained oblivious to the tempest within me, as he effortlessly reached out to adjust the collar of the coat that still held his warmth, his fingertips brushing against the skin of my neck. "You are shivering." "I am not," I instinctively retorted, a reflexive shudder coursing through me as I almost sought to escape from the pheromones that bore an uncanny resemblance to Lu Fang's. It was entirely normal for brothers, sharing the same bloodline, to possess similar pheromones. Yet, despite the resemblance, the pheromones emanating from Lu Yuan were far more piercing and domineering, easily igniting my nearly uncontrollable physiological instincts. I lowered my gaze, my expression darkening to the point of being indistinguishable, merely panting softly as I struggled to quell the desires that should not have arisen. Outside, no one seemed to notice my peculiar state. "Do not be too sorrowful. Everyone dies." Lu Yuan's voice remained low and calm, laced with just the right amount of grief. "He would not wish to see you like this." Lu Yuan's demeanor remained tranquil, his eyes reflecting a warmth of sympathy, his expression impeccably managed. Simultaneously, the voice deep within Lu Yuan's heart, one that only I could hear, reverberated clearly in my mind once more. "Just a hint of similar pheromones makes you this fragile. I can only imagine how beautiful you would look if you wept." A wave of chill coursed down my spine. I realized that I was not mistaken. I could not have misheard. What I had heard was the deepest desire lurking within Lu Yuan. He coveted the widow left behind by his younger brother. 2. I was unsure how I had managed to step outside. All I knew was that if I lingered any longer, I would be devoured by the ravenous voice of Lu Yuan's possessiveness. Chen Jun, Lu Fang's closest friend during his lifetime, awaited me outside. Upon seeing me emerge, he approached. Chen Jun seemed to have grown distant from me. In the past, when Lu Fang was alive, he would refer to me as sister-in-law. He offered me a thermos filled with warm water, bringing it to my lips. "Shingo, you look unwell. Please drink some warm water." As I accepted the warm water, almost simultaneously, an excited and nearly distorted voice exploded in my mind. "So sweet it drives one mad. I just want to lick Shingu until she cries," completely covering her mark. This was Chen Jun's innermost thoughts. My hand trembled slightly around the cup, and a few drops of water splashed out. If Lu Yuan's voice earlier could have been dismissed as a mere figment of my imagination, I now confirmed that I could indeed hear the thoughts of others. In the next moment, my legs felt wobbly. Chen Jun's eyes filled with concern. "Shingo? What's wrong?" I too was at a loss for what was happening to me. I tugged at the suppressor ring around my neck, feeling unbearably hot. The pheromones from Lu Yuan had been so reminiscent of Lu Fang's mark that they had triggered a false heat. Chen Jun quickly grasped the situation, thinking he is actually in heat. Did Lu Fang know that his precious Omega, who he cherished to the point of wanting to keep hidden away, would be so affected by another alpha at his own funeral? If it weren't for Lu Fang's alpha status being so high, I would want to cover Shinji's mark right here and now. Overcome by the false heat, I felt faint. Chen Jun supported my shoulder, his voice softening to almost a whisper. "Shingo, if you're not feeling well, let me take you home." By the time we reached the villa, night had fallen. I leaned against the car door. "Just drop me off here." Chen Jun lifted his gaze, speaking slowly. "All right." Noticing he remained rooted in place, I tightened my grip on the door handle. "Chen Jun, aren't you leaving?" With Lu Ji's passing, I cannot help but worry. Chen Jun spoke in a subdued tone, devoid of emotion. "I have rented a place across the street. I can look after you from now on." As Lu Fang's closest friend, it seemed only fitting for Chen Jun to take on the responsibility of caring for the widow. However, as the moonlight streamed through the corridor windows, it illuminated the undercurrents of desire swirling in Chen Jun's gaze. My eyelashes fluttered down, and with a sudden thud, I closed the door, escaping from the gaze that laid bare his almost unmasked yearning. Watching the Omega flee into the house in a panic, Chen Jun chuckled softly as he loosened his tie, having just left a hint of his pheromones on Shin Qing's gland. Yet this Omega was clearly like a startled bird, utterly oblivious to his subtle intentions. This was merely a test. No matter, he had all the patience in the world. The only thing that vexed him was not knowing which wild dog had gotten ahead of him, leaving its pheromones on Shin Qing. TSK. How annoying, Chen Jun thought silently. When would he be able to eliminate the wild dogs coveting his Omega? 3. My relationship with Lu Fang was rather tepid, a marriage of convenience. However, his alpha pheromone level was exceedingly high, and during the 7 days of his permanent mark, I was almost entirely confined to his lap, immersed in his pheromones, unable to go anywhere. Lu Fang had long since separated from the main branch of the Lu family. After his passing, the vacant room was left with only me. I wrapped myself tightly in the clothes I wore while nesting, hoping to alleviate my unease in this manner. I lost track of time, my consciousness gradually fading into the night. With my eyes tightly shut, it seemed I encountered Lu Fang in my dreams, my deceased husband. I shook my head, wishing to dismiss it as a mere nightmare. Yet, a voice, cold enough to chill one to the marrow, pierced through, laden with intense possessiveness and seething rage. It burned against my ears, leaving me restless even in my dreams. "Baby." I furrowed my brows in discomfort, biting my lip in my sleep. However, that familiar, mocking laughter lingered, growing more tangible, as if someone had clawed their way back from the depths of hell. "Your husband's body is barely cold, and yet you've learned to sneak around behind my back?" My heart quivered, and I whispered, "I haven tea. Are you truly unable to smell it, or are you just playing the fool?" The figure in my dream, with a dominating hand resting upon my waist, looked down at me with an icy gaze, inspecting my trembling as if appraising a possession that had been lost and found, yet possibly tainted by wild dogs. "Your glands, aside from the mark, are already steeped in the alpha pheromones of various wild dogs. Did you truly believe that, with the old fox dead, no one could haze you into a daze?" In my dream, I involuntarily shuddered violently, the tormenting vision causing my brow to furrow painfully, soft whimpers escaping my throat. Instinctively, I curled my body tighter in the wardrobe. The door swung open, revealing a tall figure who cast his gaze downward. In the dim light, he immediately spotted the Omega huddled in a corner, clutching his old clothes. Despite my fear of him in the dream, I found myself unable to distance myself from his pheromones, instinctively craving his presence. The air was soon suffused with the potent scent of alpha pheromones. Almost immediately, the tension in my furrowed brow eased, and my breathing gradually steadied, even unconsciously leaning toward the source of that familiar aroma. Such a good girl, came the barely audible, deep voice. The towering alpha leaned down, unhesitatingly biting into his fingertip and irresistibly smearing the blood onto the slightly parted lips of the anxious Omega in his dream. The fresh blood, mingled with his lingering pheromones, was sufficient to intimidate all the covetous wild dogs. He had merely died. He was not gone forever. No one could lay claim to his Omega. I jolted awake from a light slumber, glancing around as my heart raced within my chest. I distinctly remembered curling up in the wardrobe before sleep. Who had carried me to the bed? The soft mattress beneath me felt stifling. My back was damp with sweat that I could not account for. A lingering, invasive taste of blood remained on my lips. In the dim moonlight, my phone screen flickered. It was a message from Lu Yuan, 320. Come by the office in the morning. Ah Fong has left some things with me. I could not fall back asleep for the rest of the night. As dawn broke, I rose, heated a pre-prepared meal for breakfast, and set out for the office to meet Lu Yuan. Even though I rarely interacted with Lu Yuan, my late husband's belongings were something I needed to retrieve. To my surprise, I ran into Chen Jun as soon as I stepped outside. Behind him was a flamboyantly painted sports car. Shingo, where are you headed? Let me give you a ride. The ambitious young Alpha-S gaze was intense, but his thoughts betrayed, just a few days, and you've already become this haggard. Shingu is even more alluring now. Lu Fong really knew how to train people, thoroughly marinating them inside and out before his death. My fingertips instinctively curled, avoiding his overly direct gaze. This was a villa district, and there were no taxis available. Although the garage housed a row of cars, they all belonged to Lu Fong, and I did not know how to drive. I initially thought to call a driver, but then remembered that the driver and maid were from the Lu family, and any temporary summon would require Lu Yuan's approval. I could only open the car door and sit in the back seat, softly requesting, please take me to Lu Corporation. Lu Corporation Tower was the tallest building in the city center. The secretary waiting outside clearly recognized me. Upon my exit from the car, she guided me directly to the highest floor via the internal elevator. I pushed open the door to the president's office, where Lu Yuan sat, not lifting his gaze as he flipped through a document with his long fingers, his demeanor as indifferent as ever. Sit. Beside Lu Yuan lay a metallic object that caught my attention immediately. This is something Ah Fong left here. He cherished it. Now that he is gone, you may take it back if you wish. My gaze lingered for a moment. It was a professional DSLR camera, its magnesium alloy body reflecting a cool black gold sheen, impeccably maintained. I had never known that Lu Fong had a passion for photography. As I approached, Lu Yuan's deep thoughts echoed once more. What a pity for those legs. If they were broken and lifted onto my shoulders, they would look even better. Don't move, little widow. The chilling voice seemed capable of freezing blood. Lu Yuan's tone was low, carrying the weight of a natural superior's oppression. My fingertips trembled, my spine stiffening. In an instant, the blood in my veins felt as if it were flowing backward. Panic surged, and my first instinct was to cradle the camera to my chest. Lu Yuan did not stop me. He slightly curled his fingers, raising his hand as if to touch my lips. Yet, as he descended, his fingertips seemed to be seared by some invisible force, quickly retracting. For a moment, his gaze was locked onto my lips, inscrutable. However, I distinctly heard him murmur within, "This blood, I truly underestimated you. A proper deceased husband should be as quiet as the dead." I did not comprehend Lu Yuan's words, but in his moment of distraction, I seized the opportunity to rush past him. To my dismay, I collided directly with Chen Jun, who was entering from outside. With a single glance, Chen Jun discerned what had transpired. Without a word, he instinctively pulled me into his embrace, thinking, Lu Yuan, that old fox, is quick to extend his hand. Even if the alpha is dead, TSK, Shin Gu's alluring essence is undeniable. It's no wonder even Lu Yuan, that Buddha, cannot remain composed. Yet, Chen Jun maintained a facade of care, his fingers brushing against my lower back as if by chance. Why hasn't Shingu come down? I've been waiting for quite a while. The sudden surge of pheromones from his embrace made my knees go weak, nearly causing me to collapse into his arms. Under his heavy gaze, Chen Jun lowered his eyes. His deliberately softened tone felt like an exceedingly gentle coaxing. If there's nothing pressing, Shingu, let us leave. Perhaps because Chen Jun was present, Lu Yuan merely watched us depart without pursuing. In Chen Jun's car, my fingertip grazed the edge of the camera body. After a moment's hesitation, I finally opened it. However, I never anticipated that the very first image in the saved files would be my own photograph. It was likely surreptitiously captured by Lu Fong. At that moment, I was still languidly nestled in my pillow, droplets of perspiration trickling down from my shoulders and neck. The bloodied bite mark left by the alpha was starkly visible on my pale neck. The sheer, patterned duvet had seemingly slipped down to my waist, accentuating an almost golden ratio of my waist and hips. From this angle, the omega appeared to tremble, with eyebrows resembling the delicate feathers of a raven, unconsciously parting my lips as if yearning for affection. In a fleeting moment, amidst my shock, a chill enveloped my heart. These photographs. Surely Lu Yuan hasn't laid eyes upon them, has he? Yet, I swiftly dismissed such conjectures. After all, a person of Lu Yuan's caliber, no matter how despicable, would never stoop to such tactics to invade another's privacy. My fingers glided, frame by frame, as I scrolled down. I sat alone beneath a tree, engrossed in my reading, while outside, the afternoon sun lazily yawned, and there were even scenes of me during my estrus phase, dazed and calling Lu Fong hubby. Time seemed to freeze in that singular moment. It was on the way back from class that I received the news of the impending union with the Lu family. As the youngest and most promising alpha after Lu Yuan, there was little intersection between Lu Fong and myself. The only glance we shared was months prior, a fleeting moment of eye contact amidst a throng of people. The Omega aristocratic boarding school and the Alpha military academy were not far apart, precisely 2 streets away. Upon learning of the marriage, I took the initiative to visit his dormitory. The Alpha military academy was virtually devoid of Omegas. As I traversed the halls, the Alphas passing by cast unabashed glances in my direction, causing me to tense up to the point where my legs felt rigid. An Alpha emerged from the dormitory, bare-chested save for a sweat towel draped over him, beads of perspiration cascading down the contours of his muscles. I instinctively averted my gaze. "Excuse me?" The door slammed shut with a resounding thud, leaving me covered in dust. I stood there speechless, as hushed voices of excitement emanated from within. "Who's that? Sounds so sweet. Oh my, an Omega, a stunning little O. Step aside. No one is allowed to vie with me this time." When the door opened again, I was met with an impeccably dressed alpha, his crisp combat uniform straining against his well-defined physique, a stark contrast to the disheveled figure I had just seen. Somewhat bashful, greeted him, "Hello, I'm here to see Lu Fong." "Lu Fong?" The person opposite me seemed momentarily taken aback. His sparkling, dog-like eyes dimmed with disappointment. He scratched his head with one hand. "He has gone to the school across the street." Upon noticing my evident disappointment, the alpha continued, "Didn't he, you know? He has been running over to the Omega aristocratic boarding school with a camera for months, apparently smitten with some little Omega, as if his soul has been stolen away. Hey, little Omega, tell your big brother the truth. Do you like Lu Fong? His temperament is cold and hard. There's no need to cling to an iceberg like him. Look, how about me?" I barely caught the latter part of his words. My mind was consumed by a singular thought. The alpha I had secretly admired for months had someone else in his heart. This realization sent my spirits plummeting. So much so that, on our wedding night, my enthusiasm was notably lacking. "Lu Fong, although our union is merely contractual, devoid of affection, you must grant me the respect I deserve. If you have an Omega you truly care for, we can consider living apart." The tall alpha before me tilted his head, patiently listening until I had finished speaking, only to notice that he was salivating profusely. Lu Fong fixed his gaze upon my collarbone, his Adam's apple bobbing. "What are you babbling about, sweetheart? Want a kiss?" With that, he proceeded to pin me against the wash basin, unabashedly kissing me as he spread my legs open in front of the mirror. When I awoke, I found myself in a private clinic. The scent of antiseptic was somewhat unpleasant. Just as I attempted to rise, I was halted by Chen Jun. "You fainted in the car. You've just undergone a full-body examination, so please refrain from getting up for now." Fainted? No wonder my head throbbed so painfully. The doctor soon entered, handing me the report. "It's a disruption caused by insufficient alpha pheromones." I gazed at the diagnosis, my fingers tightening slightly. "But my alpha just passed away less than a week ago." The doctor adjusted his glasses and tucked his pen back into his pocket. "Mr. Shen, if I may be frank, your deceased husband was undoubtedly a high-ranking alpha, correct? The Lu family's ancestors pioneered the military alliance. Even now, despite their withdrawal from the limelight, they maintain an inseparable connection with the military. Due to the sensitivity of military matters, the ranks of the Lu family alphas are kept confidential. However, as a direct descendant, Lu Fong's rank could not be low." I nodded, yes. The doctor understood. "That explains it. Generally, an Omega partner marked permanently by a high-ranking alpha will crave pheromones much more intensely than a typical Omega. Unless the alpha himself is resurrected. Finding a substitute is exceedingly difficult. Mr. Shen, in your case, our usual recommendation is to directly wash the mark. Wash the mark? These unfamiliar words stirred a sense of chaotic bewilderment within me, causing me to clench my fingers anxiously. Is there no alternative to washing it? The doctor seemed taken aback by my response, his gaze behind the lenses scrutinizing me for a moment. It's not entirely impossible. He paused. Unless you can obtain pheromones and inhibitors of the same origin. However, Mr. Shen, as you know, the inhibitors available on the market that correspond to top-tier alpha pheromones are predominantly controlled by the military. After the doctor departed, I remained in a daze. For reasons unknown, perhaps due to reluctance, the thought of washing the mark felt akin to severing the last thread connecting me to Lu Feng. Yet, even with the prospect of washing the mark, I needed to devise a plan. Otherwise, my current state would likely prevent me from meeting the surgical standards. Chen Jun, noticing my pale complexion, supported me. Xingu, their SA high-level inhibitor featured at tonight's auction in the city center. If you need it, I nodded. I will go. Chen Jun's gaze softened. Good. Almost simultaneously, I heard his thoughts. Damn. Even the bones are turned to ash. What a charmed life. I was taken aback by his crude language. The auction featured prominent figures from the upper echelons of society. The high-level inhibitor I had my eye on was a coveted treasure, sought after by many. I raised my bid several times but soon found myself outmatched. The price soared higher with each call, and Chen Jun was rendered powerless. Just then, from the upper tier of the auction hall, a hand was raised, breaking the silence of the entire evening. With a decisive stroke, the bidding was closed. Despite the dim lighting, I recognized the man seated at the highest vantage point, surveying the proceedings. Lu Yuan. Our gazes locked across the expanse. Lu Yuan curled his lips into a smile, raising his hand to summon a waiter, whispering something in his ear. Soon, the high-level inhibitor was presented to me. The waiter respectfully handed over a small card. Mr. Shen, this is a gift from buyer number 1. As I chased after him, I saw Lu Yuan's secretary opening the car door for him. Lu Yuan. Hearing my call, he turned. The elongated figure ahead came to an abrupt halt. Lu Yuan paused in his steps, yet did not turn around. In the night, his black trench coat accentuated his broad shoulders, exuding an air of unattainable detachment and control. He resembled a remarkably patient hunter, having already discerned the trajectory of his prey, now merely waiting for the rabbit to unwittingly collide with the meticulously set trap. I understood, yet I had no alternative. I lowered my gaze. May I borrow a piece of your clothing? Lu Yuan appeared taken aback, as if contemplating something. However, he soon allowed a barely perceptible smile to grace his lips. Of course, without further inquiry, he lifted his hand to unfasten the buttons of his trench coat, revealing a shirt that outlined his formidable physique. Lu Yuan neatly folded the warm coat and handed it to me. At such a close distance, I could distinctly scent the alpha pheromones emanating from him. His thoughtfulness was nearly exquisite. Is this sufficient? If not, I can have my secretary deliver more tonight. I clutched the garment to my chest, stammering. It's enough. As I turned to leave, I heard him whisper behind me. The little vixen, even in expressing her needs, is like this. So enticing. Later that evening, I took a shower. I injected a high-grade suppressant into my skin. I buried myself deep within Lu Yuan's clothing. The similar pheromones were sufficient to alleviate the fatigue and torment brought on by the diminishing alpha pheromones over the past 7 days. Instinctively, I tightened the garment around me, pushing it up from my lower abdomen, a shameful moan escaping my lips. In an instant, the room's ambience shifted, and the spectral form of the alpha solidified. His gaze, icy and piercing, fixated on the omega upon the bed. He raised his hand and effortlessly obliterated the red dot in the corner. Oblivious to the hidden cameras in the room, he dared to betray him so openly. The wind brushed past my ears, its tone deep and reminiscent of a voice from the depths of hell. Sometimes, I truly wish to strangle you. The sound dissipated in the wind, leaving me blissfully unaware in my slumber. Breathing softly, driven by primal desire, I could only fantasize about that person's caress. A Fong, come in. The alpha's gaze underwent a palpable transformation. Almost instantaneously, my clothing was torn away and discarded onto the floor. Unbeknownst to me, in the moment of fleeting satisfaction, I assumed it had merely been blown away by the wind. I turned, sinking deeper into sleep. Little did I know, I had become a delectable morsel in the alpha's eyes. A chilling breath brushed against my neck. Humph! A low, derisive chuckle laced with icy anger echoed. Like the tongue of a venomous serpent, it caressed my ear, igniting an instinctive shiver throughout my body. Is wearing another alpha's clothing what brings you such delight? I futilely curled up, attempting to nestle deeper. Yet, it was evident that the alpha had no intention of letting me off so easily. One finger, then two, pressed against my lower abdomen, causing it to quiver slightly. In the cold, watery night, the alpha wielded absolute control and desecration over me. The splashes of water momentarily clouded my senses as I teetered on the brink of ecstasy. Could only murmur, "Who are you?" The towering figure above me remained unmoved, gazing down at my body instinctively arching in pleasure from my dreams. His actions did not cease. "What do you think, baby?" The familiar sensations coursed through my body, as if I had returned to that honeymoon phase when even getting out of bed was a luxury. My brows furrowed in desperation, yearning to escape this nightmare. "You are dead. Why have you returned? You wretched heartbreaker. Why do you linger even in death?" The figure in my dream, emboldened, bit down on my earlobe, exhaling a breath as icy as hell itself upon my neck. "Of course, I've come back from hell to take you, baby." The bone-chilling coldness seeped into my very core, causing me to break out in a cold sweat in my dream. Yet I was forced to tilt my head back, kissing and swallowing the unyielding, temperature-less intrusion of his tongue. The mingling of lust and unreciprocated affection drove me to madness. As night faded, I gazed at the deep stains on the sheets, lost in thought. I had merely sought to alleviate my desire, yet somehow, under the influence of the pheromones, I had triggered my heat. Lu Yuan's shirt lay crumpled on the floor, bearing suspicious watermarks. The blurred memories of our entangled dreams surged back into my consciousness. My fingers, hidden beneath the covers, felt as though they had touched a scorching taboo, igniting a sudden wave of shame. In my dreams, lacking the alpha's caress, I found myself yearning for an ethereal connection with my deceased alpha husband. I shook my head, striving for clarity. Perhaps the doctor was right. This could not continue. I must urgently schedule a marking removal procedure. The marking removal was arranged for a week later. Throughout the entire process, Chen Jun accompanied me. Strangely, he refrained from his usual chaotic thoughts, displaying genuine approval and support both on his face and in his heart. I found myself somewhat distracted. The doctor offered me some comforting words and guided me into the injection room. Suddenly, an eerie disturbance rippled through the space. Time seemed to freeze, and the alpha who should have perished in that car accident materialized before us, solidifying in reality. My pupils constricted, my heart skipped a beat, and I almost dared not lift my gaze to the figure before me. It dawned on me that the nightmares of recent days were, in fact, true. It was not merely a disruption of pheromones. The feelings of turmoil that had nearly driven me to the brink of despair were tangible remnants of reality. Lu Fang's gaze fell upon the surgical knife meant for marking removal. He lowered his eyes, swallowing all emotion. "Seems I have arrived just in time?" In the next moment, icy fingers, not a hand, coiled around the nape of my neck. With an undeniable force, two long, cold fingers pressed gently, compelling me to expose my delicate glands entirely to his view. I nearly buckled at the knees, on the verge of kneeling before him. This was the Omega's absolute submission to the Alpha who had permanently marked him, with nowhere to struggle or hide. I could feel my body trembling. "Baby," the chilling wind whispered past my ears. His fingertips pressed down with a slight force upon my glands, reminiscent of a vengeful spirit risen from the depths of hell. "Are you planning to wash away the mark behind my back? Without the protection of your former partner, baby, are you not afraid of being devoured by those ravenous, drooling wild dogs outside, leaving not even a shred of you behind?" I found myself at a loss for words. My body stiffened, forced to tilt my head back, swallowing my fragmented sobs. Yet he merely lowered his gaze, his eyes as cold as ice. It was as if he were observing a lifeless object on the verge of destruction. "What a pity, my soul does not perish. Whoever you are with, I will ensure their demise. Do not think that even if you were to die, a century later as a solitary grave, those wild dogs would have any chance while I guard you." With a resounding slap, I raised my hand, the sound echoing sharply. Lu Fang's head turned from the impact, momentarily stunned, his grip loosening. He looked at me in disbelief. "You hit me?" My eyes brimmed with tears as I accused him. "How was I to know you were not dead? I thought you were gone. I was nearly driven mad, and now you frighten me. Why do you not descend into hell?" Lu Fang chuckled coldly. "I'm uncertain whether I am alive or dead. Did I not instruct my brother that, in the event of my demise, he should handle everything?" Lu Fang suddenly grasped the gravity of the situation, his pupils constricting. "Damn it! What a wretched fool my brother is." I flung aside the surgical drape, my eyes ablaze with fury. "It is I who should be incensed. Get out of here. Lu Fang, taken aback, retorted with equal ire. What do you mean, get out? You struck me, and that's all there is to it. He defiantly pressed his other cheek closer. Why not strike this side too? Is it not to your liking? At last, the alpha received the slaps he so desired. As Lu Yuan sat across from Lu Fang and me, he candidly admitted to his silence. Indeed, it was intentional. He lifted his gaze towards Lu Fang, exuding a silent challenge. How could one know if they do not seize what they desire? Lu Fang pondered, so it was Chen Jun who orchestrated that at the clinic? What happened to our lifelong brotherhood? Brother, you truly are becoming increasingly naive. Lu Yuan raised his eyes, confirming succinctly, that was also my doing. On our way home, Lu Fang revealed the truth of our family's curse. Our lineage bears the heavy sins of our ancestors, and thus we are cursed. Every generation must endure a calamity upon reaching adulthood. We lose one thing and gain another. My misfortune has led me to this predicament. The fact that I can materialize is already a testament to my efforts over these past days. I shot him a glance. So you are still capable now? Lu Fang smirked, confidently placing my hand on his lower abdomen. I may be dead, but I am not impotent. Besides, did you not experience it in your dreams? I replied, I was inquiring about your alpha pheromones. The alpha across from me assured, all is available. Upon returning home, I headed for a shower. Yet, inexplicably, even within the confines of my room, an unsettling sensation of being observed enveloped me, growing more intense by the moment. I turned off the faucet, the sound of water ceasing abruptly, leaving only the faint patter of droplets. I tentatively whispered, Lu Fang, is that you? Silence spread through the humid air. Aside from the dripping, no other sound emerged. Is no one there? Was it merely an illusion? I bit my lip, about to turn away when, unexpectedly, a drop of dark crimson blood fell from the air, splashing into the small pool of water before me, instantly diffusing. It was the result of Alpha's nosebleed from his old house catching fire. Beneath the warm water, the tension in my shoulders eased, my anxious gaze relaxing into a languid calm. My damp lashes hung softly. What a performance. I raised my hand, adjusting the direction of the showerhead. The warm water cascaded down my chest, rolling off in glistening droplets. Gradually, my fingers slid down my wet abdomen in an exquisitely suggestive manner, stifling my breaths. Lu Fang. No sooner had I spoken than a pair of icy hands eagerly enveloped my waist from behind. Baby, are you calling for me? The inherent nature of an alpha is to dominate an omega. No alpha can withstand such provocation from one. My voice faltered. I knew you were watching me bathe. The atmosphere shifted abruptly as I deftly seized his wrist, yanking the lecherous alpha out of the bathroom. From now on, you are not to enter while I bathe without my permission. Lu Fang, unceremoniously tossed out, exclaimed, ouch. Once I emerged from the bathroom, I beckoned him, come in. I watched as the tall alpha hurried in. My skepticism regarding his ghostly tales lingered. You wouldn't deceive me about your family's curse, would you, baby? Lu Fang immediately drew closer, wrapping his arms around my waist, his tone a perfect blend of feigned grievance and sincerity. How could I ever lie to you? Despite his words, I remained conflicted. Yet Lu Yuan appears entirely normal. At least on the surface, there were no signs of deprivation or bestowal. Lu Fang was unambiguous. He has lost his rationality. Taken aback by this response, I raised an eyebrow. And what has he gained? Lu Fang pondered briefly. If memory serves, it should be financial acumen and computational skills. Upon hearing such a drab and uninspiring answer, I instantly lost interest in further discussion, yawning as I nestled beneath the covers. So easily deceived. Lu Fang regarded his omega with lowered eyes, contemplating. The deprivation and endowment of the Lu family curse do not affect acquired abilities. They pertain solely to inherent instincts. A malicious smirk curled at the corners of his heart. How could he let Shenqing know what Lu Yuan had been bestowed? It was a gift that could incite envy in any alpha, a remarkable ability that defied nature itself, so extraordinary it would require censorship. It was infuriating. Why was he not the one to receive it? How unfair. Why should Lu Yuan not be consigned to the depths of hell? Unfair? Uncertain of what more the alpha awaited, I opened my glistening eyes, articulating his thoughts. Every midnight at 12, I am forced to sit at home watching horror films. For me, is that fair? Lu Fang's heart skipped a beat, instinctively lowering his gaze to the unsatisfied figure beneath him. Initially, he had only wanted to inquire why Shenqing could hear his thoughts, but upon merely glancing, he was nearly overwhelmed. His precious one was a living aphrodisiac. Outside, wild dogs were coveting him, He had to work twice as hard. What kind of alpha would he be if he did not exert himself? The bed was already overturned. Go, go, go. The end of the story. Thank you for listening. See you in the next tale.